Mr. D had a very bad reputation because even before he transferred to my elementary school, there were a lot of complaints from parents and from students about his really bad behavior. Mr. D was a former social studies teacher and assistant principal of another public school near Ozone Park. At his former school, he was accused of verbally abusing his students and the staff members alike. And when he arrived at my elementary school in the early 2000s, he made life hell for everybody too. Mr. D was a very pristine man. He dressed in very professional clothing. Every day I would see him walk with a suit and a tie, and he had these big Coke bottle glasses, but his eyes were really cold. And he also had this huge ruby ring that he would point at anybody who he thought was a troublemaker. He reminded me a lot of the Horned King from the Black Cauldron, and he was the male version of the Trunchbull from Matilda. And he strongly enforced the rules. And he was very old school and very authoritarian. He wanted things to be done right, and he wanted to discipline the entire school and actually improve the school. Things started to change drastically when Mr. D became principal. There was a strong emphasis on the ELA and math exams instead of extracurricular activities and creative things like before. Mr. D decided to cut the school budget for those kinds of things and instead focus on the state exams. And he wanted to improve the test scores of the school because the grades were really piss poor and the majority of the students were failing the exams. As a result, all of the gangs got dismembered, all of the drugs disappeared, and all of the bad kids were removed from the school. And I believe that that was a good thing because the majority of those bad kids were bullies. They weren't contributing anything positive to the school. Mr. D was so scary when he got angry that even the bad kids feared him. Even the teachers and the staff members didn't like him, and they were scared of him too. Because of his strict regime, it got him into a lot of trouble, especially with the students and their parents. Mr. D actually got sued by his own assistant principal because he verbally harassed his staff and the students, and he called them burger flippers, pigs, and idiots. The NAACP got involved, and they accused Mr. D of being racist and being too hard on the kids and abusing his power over them. The lawsuit against Mr. D was so controversial that it even appeared on the newspapers, and the New York City Board of Education got involved, as well as the mayor at the time, which was Bloomberg. So it was a huge scandal. The entire neighborhood wanted to fire Mr. D, but of course he couldn't get fired because the New York City Board of Education gave him a free pass. A lot of parents complained about Mr. D, saying that he was abusive to students and teachers alike and that he was racist, especially towards African Americans and Hispanics. Other parents said that his strict regime was actually improving the school. In my sincerest opinion, I think that those that were complaining about him being abusive were actually a bunch of idiots. Because, to be real, those kids were not angels. Because they themselves were bullies, and they were not interested in progressing in life. They were not interested in their schoolwork. And that's why Mr. D took drastic measures to discipline them. The kids and their parents took it way too far, and they actually thought that it was a racist thing. But I believe that education starts at home. And if you don't discipline your kids, they're not going to perform well in school. And that whole thing about using your ethnicity or race as a crutch to not become better in life is a load of bullshit, in my opinion. I believe everybody has an equal opportunity to succeed, but people just choose not to take those opportunities to become better because it requires a lot of hard work. Look, I grew up with parents that were really hard on me, who disciplined me a lot, and who actually yelled at me a lot. And these kids were complaining about how this principal was yelling at them. If they had parents like mine, it would be a different story.